right, turning our attention to today's matchup, the Mavs and the Warriors. Game 5, we are back in the Bay Area. Warriors are laying 7. Total here is 215.5. The Mavs won that Game 4, had a strong showing, especially a strong shooting performance to keep their season alive. Josh, what do you expect from this game tonight in San Francisco?
This is going to be a fun one. This is, a real potential to be a chess battle between two coaches in particular, because I like what Dallas did in terms of adjusting their offense at last, where they weren't entirely reliant on the three. They were really aggressive getting into the paint, penetrating that defense, and then kicking out to find open men on the perimeter. And it made a massive difference in terms of, obviously, not just the shots made from beyond the arc, but the space that they had in finding open men out there, and the success that they also had in penetrating and being aggressive to the basket. So, now it's back on Golden State. Do they adjust, and does Steve Kerr make the necessary adjustments there to prevent that from happening? And I think the answer there is yes, just based on what we've seen in years gone by from them. So my look on this game, I do show a little bit of value towards Dallas here at the current number. I prefer the under here. I think that there's pretty good value there to be had. I was on the over last game. I'm going back the other way this time. I've made adjustments based on what I think the perceived pace of play is. Now, if you look at the Warriors this year, and even during the dynasty years, which I don't like to do too much because obviously they're two completely different teams, but one thing that really stood out was road elimination games for the Warriors, where they had the chance to basically knock off a team. The pace of play was exponentially higher than what the season average, series average was for them in those situations. And then what you do is, if you look at the following game when they return home, it becomes the slowest paced game of the entire series. And I don't think it's accidental by any stretch of the imagination. I do very much think it's by design. I think they go on the road, they literally try and, run you out the gym. If you have success, they come home and they completely change the game script entirely and slow it down to absolute walking pace. We saw it against Denver, we saw it against Memphis, and I think we see it again tonight. I think it's going to go all the way back down to being the slowest paced game so far in this series and matchup. And, if it does do that, do you trust Dallas and do you trust Jason Kidd to make the in-game adjustments necessary to then have that same level of success on offense? The answer for me is no, I don't trust them. I don't think that they're able to quite figure things out on the fly just yet, especially not against a championship team and a team who's, so well-versed like the Warriors are. So those adjustments should come into play. I think, the primary one being Draymond Green goes back to being a real roam help defender, where they try and trap that penetration as it happens and prevent that kick out. And, the guys that are on the perimeter sort of stick to their man, and it makes it really difficult to successfully find anyone out there. And, that's generally speaking, is sort of a recipe for a lot of turnovers. And if you get the Warriors playing in transition, I think everyone knows what the outcome is in those situations. So for me, the under the biggest edge here, like I said, when I adjust for this projected pace that I'm anticipating, I sort of come out at about a 208, which is a lot lower than the market at the moment. Maybe I'm being a little bit over-aggressive in adjusting for that pace, but I think that there's certainly merit for that to be the case. So I do show a little bit of value towards Dallas here at current number. Unders for me, they're the top play on this one.
I agree with that. I think this game could start off fairly close and throughout the first half, maybe a look towards the Mavs first half, but I think the Warriors blow this game open in the second half, and Dallas struggles to score then. We've seen that script so many times, and oftentimes when that happens and one team is struggling to put points on the board, the under is the right play there. Speaking of second halves, I am going to play the Warriors in the third quarter. They're -1.5 for the third quarter. They've been great coming out of the half, not only all season long, but in the postseason. They're 9-6 overall in the playoffs, 3-1 in the third quarter against the Mavs in this series, and their home third quarter wins have come by 9, 14, 14, 10, and 12. So averaging about a winning margin of 11 in that third quarter. So not only am I going to play -1.5, which is what the line's at right now, but I also might look to a couple, maybe take an alternate line and get some plus money there, because when the Warriors put games away, it often happens right after the first half. Coming out of that half, Steve Kerr is a great coach at making adjustments at halftime, and this has been a winning pick for the majority of the regular season and postseason. So that is my play for this game. Chris, I'm so disappointed. No plays for you tonight. What is going on?
Yeah, I think I think this is
What
my
are we
first
doing
time.
here, Chris?
It's like we only have a couple games left. Come on.
Well, also on top of it, I don't even know how to follow you two after those. I mean, I love the research Josh did on the pace, how that drops. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't do that research. I didn't know that that was the case. Golden State, it makes a lot of sense, right? And Steve Kerr is really good at that too. He loves to mix things up and just totally throw off the other team. And when you have a team that has as much chemistry as the Warriors have, that's the kind of thing you can do. One thing that I do notice about the Warriors too, and it is a lean of mine, I didn't take it because it's 2.5, depending on the book, which I think is very sharp. But the Warriors in the first quarter, again, if you look at them this postseason, after those two games against Memphis and when they went on the road and they got trounced, against Denver when they allowed a ton of points against them on the road and they could have been eliminated. In the next game, they responded, and they responded in that first quarter, winning by 4 to 5 points in both of those games. So, I mean, that's typical Warriors basketball, right? You know they're going to button up. They weren't great from beyond the arc in that last game. Steph Curry, on the other hand, has been sensational in this series. I mean, his three-point shooting has been great. So I think we can expect some really solid things from him tonight as well. One thing that's interesting that the Warriors, or that the Mavericks did in the previous game too, is, Kevon Looney kind of went away, didn't he? Like, he just didn't have the same impact that he had before. Just by the eye test, it looked like Dallas was trying to guard that interior of the paint just a little more, force the Warriors to take those three-point shots. Most teams don't want to do that. The Warriors are a great three-point shooting team, but they weren't quite as precise in that last game. Obviously the Mavericks finally showing what they can do from the perimeter, shooting almost 50% from there. But this is tough. I agree with Josh that I would lean to the Mavericks actually full game because 7 points is a lot. And this is a Mavericks team that we've seen in 2 elimination games against the Suns. They stepped up. They won. They hung on. I kind of feel like maybe they're built for this. And maybe they're built for this because their star is built for this. Luka has been averaging 36 points in 5 elimination games so far in his career. So he loves these scenarios. And that's why, I tend to judge players about how they react in the playoffs, because those are the toughest moments, right? These big moments in the playoffs. What are you going to do? Luka didn't actually have that great of a game in game 4. So I mean, if he positively regresses, then he's going to have an even better game tonight. I think the key for the Mavericks is to keep on taking away those offensive rebounds that the Warriors have just been eating this whole series. That's a huge thing for them. Obviously, the Mavericks have to hit from the perimeter. And to Josh's point, if they're not aggressive going to the rim, they're not going to find the same shots. So you have to create that kind of offense. They are in a flow. So the rhythm of the Mavericks now scares me off a full game on the Warriors, although who would be surprised if the Warriors also blew out the Mavericks here at home? So there's just a lot of competing narratives for me. The Warriors, they're a very good team at home. They're 62% ATS at home this year. So they're very comfortable there. So just a lot of competing narratives. No play for me, but I do kind of like that first quarter lean.
Yeah, I mean, 2 very viable game scripts that could both easily take place tonight. Josh, if the Mavs are able to win tonight, all the pressure goes back on Golden State as they go back to Dallas to kind of close things out. Do you almost feel like there's more pressure on Golden State here tonight to close this one out?
Not yet. I don't think so. You're right. Obviously, the longer Dallas is able to extend it, the greater the pressure becomes on Golden State. I just don't think it's quite there yet. And, they're too well versed. They've been here far too many times to even start thinking about the prospect of this being 3-2, maybe even 3-3. Any other team potentially, especially a much younger team. And if that team were to, be down at halftime in a game like this, then absolutely nerves become a factor, I think. But in this situation, I think Golden State is just too well versed and steady to let that sort of distract them and affect them in how they play or execute just yet.
We have Scott Foster reffing tonight. Series extender.
We do.
Do you guys take the refs into consideration at all when you handicap? I mean, Twitter is like loving it. Scott Foster's reffing this game's going 7 series is going 7 games, all that jazz, but that's not anything you guys worry about, right?
I mean, there's a lot of conspiratorial stuff out there, right, about sports in general, right? The NBA wants to extend this series. They want to extend that series. They want the Lakers to win. Sometimes it does seem like that's the case. Unfortunately, because there's no evidence of that, at least, not that we know of. I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist, so I don't really believe in that kind of stuff. I don't think Scott Foster's a great ref, but here we are. I don't think it affects a team like the Warriors as much either. They can be a physical team, but they're going to beat you in so many different ways. They don't really have to rely on the free throw shooting.
Yeah. Okay. For this game, Josh is going to play the under here, 215.5. I'm going to take the Warriors third quarter -1.5. Chris, no plays for you today, so.